I was recently asked in the latest video, hey Makai, can you do a video predicting the last 7 to 8 characters who can join the roster? And I said, you know what, I might as well do it. So you can thank G-Sans for this video. I promise you guys I am not being edgy for views or whatever, but you know it's not going to stop anybody from thinking that. If you guys enjoy videos like this, go ahead and hit the like button on this video. Let's try to get 500 likes. That's right, if you heard that, just hit the like button. Hit the like button. It helps out both me and other people discovering the channel. So how do we break down the last 8 characters to come to this game? We have roughly 8 weeks left before the game releases, and with that, things are going to get very scary for people who want certain characters to join. Whether you're a Momo fan or maybe you're an Orihime fan, things are starting to look kind of scary. Heck, any predictions might be entirely wrong. However, I'm going to make the most realistic predictions in this video, so hopefully I don't get crucified in the comment section. At number 1, we might as well throw Noisura in there. Not only having long history with a already announced character, Neliel, and also being the fight that she fight against in the story of Bleach, he also has a battle with Kenpachi that is one of the longest fights in the Arrancar arc. Noisura is a character that not only would make a lot of sense to be in this game, but there's plenty of stuff in his arsenal that can be utilized in a moveset. I think Noisura is one of those characters that you just make him playable because it makes sense. So we can count him as the first character that will be of the 8 that I am predicting. Then at number 2, number 3, and number 4, you might as well throw down the 3 espadas. Number 1, number 2, and number 3, not only because they play a role in Fate Katakura Town arc, but also because, well, they're the top 3 Espada before Yami did his bullshit. These 3, they fought against some of the more popular captains, minus Soifon. We have Shunsui, who fights against Stark, and we have Toshiro, who fights against Haribel, and of course Baragon fights against Soifon, which she struggled with immensely. I think you make these characters playable because it just makes the most logical sense. They're some of the best Espada characters. Outside of Ukiura and Grimmjow, I think people like the 3 Espada. Those are the first 4. But now when we get into number 5, I think I'm going to get some disagreement, and that's Yami. I wouldn't have said Yami prior to the Komamura trailer that just dropped, but after seeing him, I think Yami has a good chance of being in the base roster. One, because he's a Giant-S character who would fill the role similar to the other guys. Maybe he could have a mechanic similar to Renji and Komamura, where he gets mad, he grows, but then after a certain point he loses power and he's weakened. Even though that's not how he works, they could make him work that way so it's a balance of the amount of power he has, so he's not just a walking war tank on the battlefield. But I don't think people want Yami to be in this game. So for the final 3 characters, that's number 6, 7, and 8, we're going to have some very interesting choices that people may not agree with. At number 6, I'm going to go ahead and say Hisagi makes the most logical sense. While Kubo seems to imply that he does not like Hisagi whatsoever, the community likes Hisagi. Bandai might see this and say, you know what, it makes sense to include Hisagi. Not only would it make sense to include Hisagi because there's a severe lack of lieutenants playable in this game, but also because of his popularity, and he does fight against Tozen. And what better way to make use of him than to put him in the game and have him fight against Tozen? While some people might be a little bit upset that we don't see the bug Tozen, that doesn't mean we won't see him in the story, and chances are we will see him in the story. Number 7 was kind of tricky for me because I thought for a second, you know what, Momo might be a good character to make playable. Momo is a character that I'm sure plenty of people would be okay with if she's playable, but the more and more the weeks get closer, the more and more I think, you know what, they're not going to make her playable. She's a bum. She's only going to be used to just move the story. Quite literally, every time she is showcased, she is getting stabbed. So I thought, you know what, number 7 makes more sense to be Ikkaku. Now, Ikkaku is another popular-esque character that Kubo makes use of way too much more than he probably should have. Ikkaku has a really cool Bankai, and I think it would make sense to have him in this game. I know other characters like Orihime, Momo, and maybe one of the other lieutenants such as Soifon's lieutenant are missing out, but who wants to actually play with those lieutenants? And yeah, you have Yumachika, but hey, maybe Yumachika assists Ikkaku in some way in battle, for instance. And we also have to think about some of the other visor that could have operated and worked similarly. Characters like Kensei could have been another Speed S character because his Bankai being more of a hand-to-hand, he could have been a similar character archetype as say Yoruichi and Soifon if only given 8 character slots. I'm gonna have to say, I don't see it happening over characters like Ikkaku and Hisagi. Now you might be wondering, Makai, who do you think the final character is since it's 8? You already said the 7. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and just say Dangai Ichigo. Now, I was thinking about this today and I was thinking maybe he's just a story mode-esque character. I mean, we have his sealed Shikai form, well, his just base form, as a copy and paste over his Shikai form in the story. Maybe Dangai is a copy and paste over Bankai Ichigo because in a way it is an extension of Bankai Ichigo because it's technically only him having more power and abilities look a little different. But wouldn't it just be a costume? But then I was like, you know what? No. Because he has significant changes that makes more sense for him to be a standalone character. So what I'm saying is that if we only have 8 character slots, the final character is Dangai Ichigo. Not only does he fight Aizen, but it just makes sense. He would be the hypest character. Yes, with this, there would be a bunch of characters that were left out. Heck, you have some of the Fraction and some of the other characters, but one thing that has bothered me, characters that we see mentioned in the character descriptions on the website, at one point I said could be playable. But what that could also mean is that they are put in the story mode and or they're enemy characters. If we look at some of the Fraction and some of the characters that are mentioned, such as what Grimmjow's character details, they mention 2 of his Fraction, Xiao Long and Edrad. And who fights those 2 characters? Toshido fights Xiao Long and Edrad is fought by Ikkaku. So to me, if those characters are being mentioned because they're going to be showcased in the story mode, but Ikkaku isn't playable, that just wouldn't make sense to me. The same thing with Xiao Long. We know that there are going to be non-playable bosses, such as with Fishbone D, so that's also why I mentioned characters like Ikkaku. And we also know at one point, Izuru gets into a fight with Momo, which is why she's likely also showcased, plus she is showcased in the story mode. But like I said at the beginning of the video, I was asked to give these 8 characters, and I believe Noitara, the final 3 Espada, Yami, Hisagi, Ikkaku, and Dangai Ichigo are the final characters. If it turns out that these characters, none of them are revealed, then shoot, that sucks. But chances are we're going to for sure see the final 3 Espada and Noitara. I believe 100% certain that we see those characters. The other 4 I mentioned is more up in the air, but again, using a little logic, it seems that Ikkaku is more likely than people may give him credit for. And the reason why they took so long to showcase him, maybe just because of release scheduling. Like I said, shout out to G-Sans for asking this question. I figured I would just make it a video, but I'm sure some people might be mad with my selection. I'm Makai-san. If you guys can, let's try to get this video to 500 likes. What yo, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.